He is a lucky man, Harper. He is a lucky man. And so am I. It's really a pleasure to be here in the Holy City. Last time I was here was a couple of years back, saying goodbye to my father, who was raised around here. And it's nice to have some relatives in the neighborhood in the show tonight. And here's a piece about old Joe Clark. Clark, the preacher's son, preached all over the plains. Only sermon that he ever gave was Hilo Jack in the game. Round and round, old Joe Clark, round and round, I say. Round and round, old Joe Clark, I hear your banjo play. Old Joe Clark had a big old house, 15 stories high. Every story in that house was filled with chicken pot pie. Round and round, old Joe Clark, round and round, I say. Round and round, old Joe Clark, I hear your banjo play. I went down to Joe Clark's house, he invited me to supper. I stubbed my toe on the table leg and stuck my nose in the butter. Round, round, old Joe Clark, round, round, I say. Round, round, old Joe Clark, I hear your banjo play. Never marry a Yankee maid, tell you the reason why. She blows her nose in old cornbread and calls it pumpkin pie. Round, round, old Joe Clark, I hear your banjo play. Banjo, they often say, hey, far out, play dueling banjos. All right, I will. Won't you join me? Sometimes I tell stories exactly as I hear them. Sometimes I make changes. You have to decide what I'm doing in this one. It's about a young woman and her 3 mean stepsisters.
Well, my name is Cinderella, and I'm looking for a fella to take me to the ball tonight. But I don't think I'm gonna get to the ball tonight, cause I gotta clean this place up and I'm feeling so uptight.
Cinderella lived in a big old house with her 3 mean stepsisters. Let me tell you about that. One was so hot-headed she was mean. One was so cold-shouldered she was mean. One was too hot, one was too cold, and the third was just wrong.
I said, you can't go to the ball tonight. Ha ha ha. Oh, woe is me. If only I had a fairy godmother or someone. What's that?
And there, coming out of the sky in a ball of light, is someone in a 2-piece sweatsuit. With a towel around his neck and a knit cap on his head. Hey, yo, Cinderella, what's up?
Rocky Ball, what are you doing here?
Hey, yo, Cindy, I'm your fairy godfather.
Fairy godfather? Who ever heard of a fairy?
Yo, Cindy, just go with the flow. Don't ask me any questions.
You're my fairy godfather. Do you have any magic wishes for me?
Yo, as a matter of fact, I got 3 magic wishes for you. They own. What's your first? One time I was doing a show, and a 6-year-old girl came up out of the audience, walked up on stage, went like this. It's a joke. You get it. 3 magic wishes for you, because they own. What's your first one? sleeve, pulls out a magic wand, waves it once, twice, 3 times around her head. The house is immaculate, completely cleaned out.
Oh, this is wonderful. Now, how about something to wear to the ball tonight?
Yo, no problem. Magic wand, once, twice, 3 times around her head, and there's Cinderella standing in a 2-piece gold lame Jordan jeans outfit. And on her feet, glass Adidas sneakers.
Oh, this is wonderful. And how am I going to get to the ball tonight?
Yo, no problem. Magic wand, once, twice, 3 times around her head. A block-long Mercedes-Benz. Cinderella gets in the limousine takes off down the road, is right, and says, "Hey, yo, Cindy, you may want to be home by midnight. Just a suggestion." Limousine pulls up in front of the ballroom. Cinderella jumps out into the ballroom. She goes, everyone turns and looks. They've never seen such a beautiful girl before. The prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince, comes down. So to Cinderella, may I just dance?
Oh, I love to dance. What kind of dancing do you do?
How about the Macarena? So Cinderella and the Prince begin to do the Macarena, and you can join them if you know it. Bong, 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 Cinderella's back in her riding clothes, runs out the door. As she runs, drops one of her glass of sneakers behind her. Prince walks over, picks up the sneaker. Ooh. Tomorrow, I will go throughout this land and find the owner of the sneaker and ask her to marry me. Next day, he goes from house to house. Finally comes to the house where Cinderella lives with the 3 mean stepsisters. The hot-headed one answers the door.
Oh, my prince, you finally come. Let me try on my sneakers.
She tries it on. It won't fit. The cold-shouldered one says, whatever. Tries it on. It won't fit. Third one looks at the sneaker and says, Adidas. Don't you have any Reeboks? All of a sudden they hear pad clink, pad clink. And there's Cinderella, one barefoot and one glass sneaker. I'll repeat that for the humor and the pain. The prince says, "This is your sneaker." Cinderella tries it on, it fits perfectly. The prince says, "Will you marry me?" Cinderella says,
"Well, I only met you last night. Perhaps we'll get to know each other a little bit better."
So they went and had a Coca-Cola. They were engaged to be married for about a year. They finally did get married, and they lived happily ever after. So there's a version of Cinderella. I went to the North Charleston Elementary School today and had an amazing time with the young children there, and had a great time. They were very, very sharp, and taught them a story, and I picked it up immediately, and then at the end of the piece I did a bit of a rap, and there were children in the audience, the 4th grade of the Charleston Elementary School, who were doing the beatbox, the beatbox making like percussion sounds. And so I gave them a couple of solos. They were so wonderful. It was a real treat. So Jack, stories about Jack, and this is one about Jack. Jack and his brother Will and his brother Tom were sitting around the breakfast table, and Jack said, "Pass me the milk, please." They passed the milk to Jack. He looked on the side of the milk carton, picture of a young girl with a crown on her head. Above the picture it said, "Missing Princess." Below the picture said, "Princess has been kidnapped by an evil wizard, cast under a spell, taken into the woods. $1,000 reward for anyone who can find the princess and break the spell." Then there was a toll-free 1-800 number under that. And Will, he was the oldest brother, said, "Mama, I'd like to go out and de-witch that princess. Can you pack me a lunch?" So they packed him a nice roast chicken, nice chocolate cake, poured him milk, put it in his satchel, sent him on his way. He got about halfway to the wizard's house. He figured he'd sit down and have his lunch. He was just about to start eating when an old woman with a staff in her hand came down the road, said to Will, "Can you share some of your meal, Sonny?" Will looked up at the old woman and said, "No way, old lady. Only have enough for myself. You're going to have to find your meal somewhere else today. Get on out of here." The old woman continued on her way. Will finished what he could, but he wasted a lot of it, just threw it into the woods, headed on toward the wizard's house. Got to the wizard's front door, knocked on it. That's a trick there. I've been doing that with my foot. It's not magic. This is science. No answer. All of a sudden you heard behind him, "Yes, young man, what can I do for you this morning?" Will turned around. There was an evil wizard standing in the yard. "Well, sir," said Will, "I'm here to de-witch the princess." "Well, if you want to de-witch the princess, you're going to have to pass 4 tests. This is the first one." The wizard brought out a hackle. Hackle is a board about a foot square with nails sticking up. People used to beat flax on hackle to make linen. Put the hackle on the ground with the nails pointing up. Then the wizard stood on a stump, jumped into the air, came down so hard on the nails, popped off without a scratch on it. Hey, your turn. Will got up on that stump, looked down at the nails, closed his eyes, leaned forward. Oh, my head, my head. He ran home with the blood streaming down his face. He got home, his mom fixed up his head with vinegar and brown paper. He was in bed for 3 weeks. Education. Do you know where vinegar and brown paper recipe comes from? Jack and Jill. The library is sponsoring this event. If you have any questions about that kind of thing, don't ask Siri. Don't ask your iPhone. Don't ask your electronic thing. Go to the library. Ask the reference desk. Let her check her iPad. There's books there. Where was I? Oh, Charleston. Okay. So, next day it was Tom's turn. Tom's mom packed for him a nice roast chicken, nice chocolate cake, quart of milk, put it in his satchel, sent him on his way. He got about halfway to the wizard's house, figured he'd sit down and have his lunch. Just about to start eating, all of a sudden an old woman with a staff in her hand came down the road and said to Tom, "Can you share some of your meal, sonny?" Tom looked up at the old woman and said, "No way, old lady, only have enough for myself. You're not going to find your meal somewhere else today. Get on out of here." The woman continued on her way. Tom finished what he could, but he wasted a lot of it, just threw it into the woods, headed on toward the wizard's house. Got to the wizard's front door, knocked on it. No answer. All of a sudden he heard behind him, "Yes, sir, man, what can I do for you this morning?" Tom turned around, there was that evil wizard standing in the yard. "Well, sir," said Tom, "I'm here to bewitch the princess." "Ah, if you want to bewitch the princess, you're going to have to pass 4 tests. This is the first one." The wizard brought out the hackle, the board with them nails sticking out, put the hackle on the ground, stood on a stump, jumped into the air, came down head first on the nails, popped off without a scratch on it. Your turn. Tom got up on that stump, looked down at the nails, closed his eyes, leaned forward. Oh, my head, my head. He ran home with the blood streaming down his face. He got home, his mama fixed up his head, vinegar and brown paper. He was in bed for 3 weeks. Next day, it was Jack's turn. Now, Jack wasn't really the favorite of the family. People used to think he was a little bit on the foolish side, always telling stories all the time and all. Plus, they were running out of chicken and chocolate cake. So, all he got for lunch was 2 dry pieces of bread, quart of tap water, put it in the satchel, sent him on his way. He got about halfway to the wizard's house, figured he'd sit down and have his lunch. Just about to start eating, old woman, staff in her hand, comes down the road and says to Jack, "Can you share some of your meal, sonny?" Jack looked up at the old woman. What do you think he said? "Yes, ma'am, have a seat." The old woman sat down. Jack gave her one of the dry pieces of bread, about half the tap water. And when they were finished at lunch, the old woman said to Jack, "I can see you're an upstanding young man, Jack. I got a present for you." Reached into her pocket, pulled out a piece of bark from a tree, handed that piece of bark to Jack and said, "That there's a piece of palmetto bark. All you got to do is hold it up and say, 'Sail, ship, sail.' Piece of bark will take you wherever you want to go." "Well, thank you, ma'am," said Jack. Said goodbye to the old woman, and then he headed on toward the wizard's house. But before he got there, he figured he'd try out this piece of magic bark, see if it really worked. Held it up and said, "Sail, ship, sail." All of a sudden, the piece of magic bark began to expand and expand and expand, until they were floating in the air in front of Jack. It was a 35-foot sailing sloop, with the mast reaching into the sky and sails aflat. There was an anchor chain came out of it, an anchor hooked onto a root. Jack got into the magic boat, holding the anchor chain, said, "Sail, ship, sail." The boat took off up and up and up and up. Well, pretty soon Jack could see all over the countryside. He saw his mom's house over on one side, saw that wizard's house over on the other side, but he figured he'd take a ride around. And as he was riding, he heard a sound come from down below, something like this. Jack looked over the side of the boat. There down below was a fellow running so fast, butting his head into trees so hard that all the leaves would shake off. Jack got down to the fellow. "Hey, fella, what's your name?" "My name is Hardy Hardhead. What's yours?" "My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?" "I'd love to." So Hardy got on the boat and took it up and up and up. After a while, they heard another sound, went like this. Looked over the side of the boat, and there down below was a fellow running through a pasture, stopping at ponds, drinking the ponds dry in one gulp. Jack got down to the fellow. "Hey, fella, what's your name?" "My name is Drinkwell. What's yours?" "My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?" "I'd love to." Drinkwell got on the boat. They're about to take the boat, and they heard, whoop, whoop. Looked over the side of the boat, and there was a fella running through a pasture, chasing sheep, catching the sheep, eating them whole. Jack yelled at the fella, "Hey fella, what's your name?"
My name is Eatwell. What's yours?
"My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?"
I'd love
He would get on the boat. They took it up and up and up. All of a sudden, everything started getting real quiet. People in the audience were wondering where the heroic women were. Jack looks over the side of the boat. They're down below with 3 young women. One of them was standing like this. One of them was standing like this. One of them was standing like this. Jack said to the first woman, "Young woman, what do you hear?" "I hear a monarch butterfly caterpillar chewing on a milkweed leaf 1,000 miles away." "That's pretty good, young woman. What's your name?" "My name is Hereward. What's yours?" "My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?" "I'd love to." He wasn't on the boat. Young woman standing like this. "Young woman, what do you see?" "I see a raven coming down to eat a monarch butterfly caterpillar. 1,000 miles away." "Pretty good, young woman. What's your name?" "My name's Seward. What's yours?" "My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?" "I'd love to." Seward get on the boat. Young woman standing like this. Jack said, "Young woman, what do you smell?" "I smell raven's vomit 1,000 miles away. The monarch butterfly caterpillars are poisonous, you know." "Oh, I heard about that at my library." "Like come on my boat?" "I'd love to." So Smell would get on the boat, and they were about to take the boat up when they heard twang, zzz. Looked over, and there was a fella with a bow, just shot an arrow. Jack said to him, "Hey fella, what'd you just do?" "Well, I reckon I just put a raven out of his misery 1,000 miles away." "That's pretty good, fella. What's your name?" "My name is Shootwell. What's yours?" "My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?" "I'd love to." She working on the boat. They're about to take the boat up when they're, Jack looked up. It was looked like a gray blur. Realized it was a young woman running so fast he hardly could see her. Jack yelled out, "Hold on, young woman. What's your name?" "My name is Judy." "Well, my friends on the track team call me Runway." "What's yours?" "My name's Jack. Want to come on my boat?" "I'd love to." "Come working on the boat." Well, they took the boat up and up and up and up. Well, Jack figured it was about time to go see that wizard. He called out, "Hard below!" which is only a command you can give if your sailboat is floating in the air. Down, 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 down. Settle in the air in front of the wizard's house. Jack jumped out of the boat, walked over to the front door, knocked on it. Something wrong with this door. Oh, there it is. No answer. All of a sudden you heard a guy, "Yes, sir, man! What can I do for you this morning?" "Well, sir," said Jack, "me and my friends agreed to bewitch the princess." "Yeah, if you want to bewitch the princess, you're going to have to pass 4 tests. This is the first one." The wizard brought out the hackle, the board with them nails sticking up, put the hackle on the ground, stood on a stump, jumped into the air, came down head first, and the nails popped off without a scratch on it. "Your turn." "Well, sir," said Jack, "I'd like one of my friends to try that." "Oh, yeah? Which one of your friends?" My friend, Hardy Hardhead." Hardy Hardhead got out of the boat, walked over to the stump, stood on the stump, jumped into the air, came, flipped around 3 times, came down so hard on the hackle, broke the hackle into 1,000 pieces. "Hey, Jack, can I borrow your comb?" "All right!" So this is the wizard. When a guy like this is a motif. "All right!" Don't be fooled. It's not Shootwell. It's not Judy. It's the wizard. "All right!" That's 1 of 4 tests. There's still 3 more to go. And if you fail any of these tests, I get to slit your throats from ear to ear and scout your brains. Did I mention it was an evil wizard? Does it agree? Sir, said Jack. "Yes, sir," said Daniel. "Well, all right. You got anybody that likes to drink?" "Well," said Jack, "none of my friends drink alcohol. If my friends drink, well, loves water. Drink will get out of the boat." The wizard pointed to a creek at Drinkville and said, "All right, Drinkville, let me your creek there. This creek here, this will be my creek. I'll race you to see who can drink their creek dry first. If you win, pass 2 of the 4 tests. But if I win, I get to slit your throats from ear to ear and scout your brains. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 2.5. 2 3/4. 2 7/8. 2 15/16. 2 31/32. 2 63/64.
to an 127/128. Later on, when Jack took his SATs in preparation for college, he remembered this arithmetic progression. To an 255, 256. To an 511, 512. I can go on like this ad infinitum, but I think we'll stop here. 3! The wizard began to drink, but before he was half finished, well finished, he saw creepers begin to drink from the headwaters of the river. All right! So you passed 2 of the 4 tests. There's still 2 more to go. You got anybody that likes to eat? Well, said Jack, my friend Eatwell loves to eat. Eatwell, get out of the boat. The wizard disappeared behind his house, dragged out by the horns 2 prize-winning cows. And one of them cows to Eatwell, held the other one himself. Said, here's the deal, Eatwell. I'll race you to see who can finish their cow first. If you win, you pass 3 of the 4 tests. But if I win, I get to slit your throats and rip your teeth and savage brains. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 2.5, 4.6, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, 2.99, 2.99999, 3. The wizard began to eat before he was half finished. Eatwell finished his whole cow and said, you got anything for desserts? All right. So you passed 3 of the 4 tests. There's still 1 more to go. You got anybody that likes to run? Matter of fact, said Jack, my friend, Runwell loves to run. Judy, get out of the boat. The wizard took an egg, broke the yolk, let the yolk fall on the ground, handed half the eggshell to Runwell, held the other half himself, and said, here's the deal, Runwell. I'll race you from here to the Pacific Ocean and back. 3,000 miles up, 3,000 miles back. You take your eggshell, fill it with salt water to prove you've been there. If you win, we'll bewitch the princess. But if I get to slit your throats from ear to ear and suck out your brains. On the count of 3. 3! And the wizard was off like a shot. What a cheer. Runwell caught up, passed, got to the Pacific Ocean, filled her eggshell with salt water, was on her way back when the wizard met her coming halfway. The wizard knew he was going to have to pull another dirty trick. Reached into his pocket, pulled out a bottle of chloroform, chemical makes you go to sleep, say no to drugs, out of his other pocket. Put the chloroform in that handkerchief. And as Runwell ran past, covered that handkerchief, covered the mouth and nose of Runwell with that handkerchief. She lay down on the ground, fell sound asleep. The wizard sped on to the Pacific Ocean, knowing that Runwell would never wake up. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Jack and Danny get word. Jack says, Well, what do you hear? I hear bad news, Jack. Sounds like snoring 1,500 miles away. Smell well? What do you smell? Smells like chloroform 1,500 miles away. See well? What do you see? Oh no, looks like Runwell sleeping on the job, Jack. Got a handkerchief covering her mouth and nose. As long as that handkerchief on her mouth and nose, she's never going to wake up. Well, gang, I guess we're goners. Not necessarily, says Shootwell as he steps out of the boat, raises his bow, takes an arrow out of his quiver, knocks it up, bang, zing. The arrow travels 1,500 miles, hits the handkerchief off the mouth and nose of Runwell. She gets fresh air. She wakes up, looks around, sees her eggshell is empty, has to go back to the Pacific Ocean to refill it. Meanwhile, here comes that wizard. He's coming on strong. He's about 300 yards from the finish line. There's Runwell on the horizon. Pretty soon they're neck and neck, nose and nose. With her last ounce of energy, Runwell bursts over the finish line and wins the race. Ah! I hate it when the good guys win. Good guys, says Runwell? Good gals, good humankind, whatever it is. Come on around back, I'll show you where the princess. They go around back, and there's a shed back there. Wizard opens the shed door. There's a girl staring into space. B-A-T spells cat. C-A-T spells rat. Hey, that's a bad spell, said Jack. Don't turn on me now, we're almost at the end. Bad spell. Abracadabra, the spell is lifted to get out of my shed. The princess walked out of the shed. Jack and the gang asked her if she wanted to ride in the boat. She said she did. They took her down to the castle where she lived with her mom and dad. King and queen ran out, hugged the princess, gave Jack and the gang $1,000. They spent the rest of that day just wandering over the countryside, trying to figure out how they could invest that $1,000 to ensure that they would live happily ever after.